Real estate or stocks? Which one would you rather invest in? It's a question that I've been getting a lot recently, and it's a good question to ask because how should we get wealthy? Is it through real estate? Is it through stocks? Is it going to be through a combination of both? Well, today we're going to answer that. It seems like everywhere you look, there's someone that's gotten rich off of real estate, such as Grant Cardone, or really wealthy off of investing in stocks like hedge fund manager Carl Icahn. Now, both of these investments have their upsides and downsides, and I would say if you're actually asking yourself this question, you're already ahead of the game. A lot of people right now are actually keeping their money in cash, which I think is a pretty bad idea considering how much money is being pumped into the economy as of today. We've seen a $900 billion stimulus bill as of most recent, not to mention the $2 trillion coronavirus bailout back in March of last year. So as more and more dollars get pumped into the economy, the existing money that we do carry or we do have in our own bank accounts is going to start to devalue over time. So if you're holding cash, admittedly, I'm holding quite a bit of cash right now. I don't think it's such a great idea. And I'm looking for alternative places to actually put my money where my money will still appreciate over time. So that leads us to a really reasonable question. Should we be investing in real estate, stocks, Bitcoin, Pokemon cards perhaps?
Sell it probably between 35 and 40,000 by Christmas.
What the bro?
So in today's video, I'm going to give you an in-depth guide on the pros and cons of investing in either real estate or stocks. Now, if you're hoping that this video is going to be me comparing Pokemon cards and Bitcoin, well, I'm sorry to disappoint you. That's actually not going to happen today. However, if enough people want to request that type of video, I could be down. So if you want me to make a video comparing Bitcoin versus Pokemon cards, please let me know in the comments. And while I have you guys here, if you are a viewer but not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing. It's free and you can always change your mind. So let's start with the stock market right now because I feel like this is a more interesting topic to talk about because I know it a little bit more intimately and also because the stock market has been on a crazy bull run since March of 2020. So right now I want to walk you through in very detailed steps what the pros of actually investing in the stock market are. The first is that it's a lot more liquid than owning real estate. For example, if you wanted to get your cash into some stocks and then out of those same stocks, you could do so within the period of 3 business days. With a real estate investment, if you do buy a property, you're gonna have a really hard time liquidating that asset. You're gonna have to put it onto market, find someone to actually buy it, and then after you close, it's typically 30 days before the contract finally settles. So the stock market is great in this regard. If you just want to invest your money in it and then pull it out whenever you want, it's pretty much doable with the stock market. The second pro is that you can transact on the stock market almost every single day, and you can buy a variety of stocks that you would not be able to with real estate. For example, with real estate, if you want to buy 100 properties, unless you're super loaded, you're not going to be able to do that. With the stock market, that's what you get. You get variety. So if you want to invest in 100 stocks today, you could do it. And if you wanted to do it on Robinhood, perhaps, and also get a free stock whenever you deposit $1, you can do that as well with a link in my description below. The third pro of owning stocks is that it's a lot less time consuming actually owning stocks than it is with real estate. With stocks, you can literally buy an index fund or an ETF or some sort of passive type of stock or dividend investment, and you can just kind of let it sit there and you can set it and forget it. Versus with owning real estate, unless you actually have hired property managers, you're gonna be doing a lot more work and a lot more time is gonna go into owning and managing your property. The fourth pro of owning stocks or getting into the stock market is that it requires a lot less capital than real estate. So if you only have $100, you can invest that into the stock market, same with 1,000 or 10,000. But with real estate, you're gonna need a really large down payment to even get into the game. So those are the pros of owning stocks. And let's talk about some of the cons of owning stocks compared to real estate because this is worth mentioning. The first pro is that it can be much more volatile than actually owning real estate. The market is more volatile. So in the short term, you might actually see a lot of volatility. And if you can't stomach that volatility, then actually owning stocks might not be the best thing for you. And with that being said, the second con here is that if you're too overactive of a trader and you actually make bad decisions back to back to back to back, you could lose quite a bit of money in the stock market. The temptation to make a bunch of trades while being invested in the stock market is always going to be there. And especially if you get into options, that's also a little bit risky. So if you don't know what you're doing, you could get into hot water pretty quickly. The third con of owning real estate is that it's not very tax advantageous. With owning stocks, you usually have to pay short-term capital gains rates or long-term capital gains rates whenever you sell a stock for profit. And those rates can actually vary from 0% to 15% to all the way up to 37% depending on your income tax bracket. Versus in real estate, you can actually take tax deductions on the interest payments that you owe on your mortgage. So that's actually one of the pros of owning real estate, and we're going to talk about all the pros of real estate right now. Real estate can be a really good investment, especially if you know the area super intimately and super well. Like if you've grown up in the same area your entire life, you get to know your neighborhoods really closely. And that's one of the pros of owning real estate, is that if you know the market well, you can get an advantage over the people that are trying to buy real estate or invest in real estate in that same area. If you're like me and you've lived in the same area your entire life, I personally know in the Bay Area where some of the best neighborhoods are and also which sides of the neighborhoods to actually stay away from. You can use your existing knowledge of neighborhoods in your area to get a leg up on the competition, which I think is one of the pros, the first pro of real estate here. The second pro of owning real estate is that it's typically less volatile than the stock market. So real estate tends to appreciate by about 3 to 4% per year, according to housingwire.com. And that really just depends on the state or the area that you live in, but typically real estate is a lot less volatile than stocks. The third pro of owning real estate is that you can literally live inside of your investment, which I think is pretty cool. So you could buy a piece of property and actually live in it, which is cash flowing for you and actually making you money, versus if you own stocks, it's not like you can live in your Robinhood account unless you're literally Neo from the Matrix. By the way, I don't think they should have ever made Matrix 2 or Matrix 3 or any of those cartoon Matrixes. I think the Matrix 1 was the best movie of all time. They should have just ended it right there. If you have any beef with me, you can leave it in the comments. The fourth pro of owning real estate are the tax deductions that you can get. So as I mentioned a little bit earlier, right now you can actually deduct up to $750,000 of interest payments on your mortgage. And I would also say owning real estate right now is better than ever because mortgage rates for 30-year fixed mortgages are at all-time lows, which is always good. So getting a really cheap mortgage and deducting the interest payments on your mortgage is a really good way to save a ton of money right now, especially when you invest in real estate. And also, if you're really interested in this, I'll leave you guys a link in the description below with all of that detailed. The last pro of owning real estate is that I believe that real estate is just going to appreciate slowly over time. As I just said a little bit earlier, because of so much money that's coming into the economy right now, you want to be owning some sort of asset that's going to slowly appreciate, because as more dollars get put into the economy, that same value of that land is going to go up over time. Now, there are a lot of cons to owning real estate, and we gotta at least address these cons because we have to know both sides before getting into it. The first con of owning real estate is that it takes a ton of capital. So with stocks, you can get into it with as little as $100 or $1,000 per day, but a down payment on any type of property, even with a really good loan, is still gonna be 10, 20% of a down payment, and that might actually be in the tens and thousands of dollars. The second con of owning real estate is that it's not a guaranteed return. You could actually lose your investment money in very many ways. So let's say a natural disaster strikes your investment property and you're not really covered under your insurance. That could be one. Your property could literally go up in flames. That could be another. Or perhaps you just buy an investment property and you can't get enough tenants in there, or maybe it doesn't cash flow well enough for you. The third con of owning real estate is that it's a lot more hands-on and time consuming. If you want it to be a passive investment, you literally have to hire a whole team to do that, or a property manager at the very least. The fourth con of owning real estate, I think, is that it really ties you down to a specific location. Now, I know that there are some people that invest in real estate out of state, but ideally you're close to your real estate investment, and so you get to check on it every now and then. Now that's very different than stocks, right? So with stocks, you could literally be on a yacht in the Adriatic Sea drinking champagne, eating bananas, or whatever you like to eat, and you could just be balling out with your stock portfolio. But with a real estate investment, you literally have to be at least in somewhat of a close proximity of your real estate investment. All right, guys, so with that being said, which one should you guys actually invest in to grow your wealth? Let's talk about that. If you're holding for the long term, I think that either owning real estate, stocks, or a little bit of both is going to be your best play to become wealthy. Now, I would say the only thing you don't want to do is to hold cash. Most of you guys watching will probably get started into the stock market because of the low barriers to entry. It requires a lot less capital and you can manage it on your own. But as you start to accumulate more money throughout your life and you want to start to own a piece of property or own something that will appreciate over time and is slightly diversified from just owning stocks, then real estate is going to be something that you should look into. I didn't really touch upon this in this video, but there are a bunch of other ways to get into real estate, such as crowdfunding real estate as well. And I can make a video in the future about this, but personally, I haven't done it, so I just don't know that much about it. In any case, I hope that this video was educational and that that you learned something about the pros and cons of owning stocks versus real estate and which one might suit you better. As always, drop a like and subscribe on this video, and also make sure to click the link in the description below if you'd like that free stock from Robinhood when you deposit any amount of money. Lastly, thanks to all my Patreon supporters. I appreciate you guys being here, and if you're interested in my videos on how to invest $1,000 or $10,000, I'm gonna leave them up on the screen right now, and I will see you guys in the next video here, probably in a couple days. Peace.